Okay, let's get back into the case. Soseki, it looks like you almost stabbed the right person. Joyful jumping jacks! Oh, Mr. Natsume, I'm so pleased for you. Locum student Mr. Haruto Esquire and non-locum judicial assistant Miss Mikotaba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellow. Arg, Locksholmes. May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent. Thought the tea was innocent. Mr. Sholmes, you came. How wonderful. You didn't open the box. Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, with nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. Sleep seduced me last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty all its own, does it not? Oh, yes. Then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they the same foolish blunder? The answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight on the matter? You're not wrong, but... Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the result? At the first light, I was exhausted. I began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. So the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. Good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes. Yes, it is. But then presuppose I prove by experimentation that, my dear fellow, is the scientific knowledge. Or scientific stuff. Do you remember this? Yes, of course, it's the poison Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital. It's a laborious test. The bottle was near empty. Such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I should confirm that it contained strychnine. Strychnine. Wait, strychnine poison. Did they use that in a different case? That was in one of the other Ace Attorney games. Leave the bottle in your care, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Could I have a word? Gregson! How good of you to come. Forget it. Excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. My dear Inspector, please, speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. You have the results? Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. A dead convict, actually. Uh-huh, the dead guy? Selden. Went through the archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. Something in there that, well, caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector? What? Copied out the relevant parts for you. You can read it for yourselves. Thank you, Gregson. Man, if only you were always this nice to us and didn't try to sell us out for government secrets. Alright, let's look at the file. 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder, died of natural causes and in prison, witnessed by cellmate, 1,000 pounds of loot's missing, held by natural causes, 70 fewer since the end of October. Nearby shouts, shall cellmate, medical staff find the dead, capital punishment cannot be carried out. Natural causes. 1,000 pounds of loot. Poison. Alright, give me a a copy of this important file, though. Oh, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? Just making sure things get handled in proper fashion. Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful. Indeed, my dear fellows, the inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown. Shining diamond in the rough, maybe. Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all. Thank you, Greggy. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. So now we lost the old thingy because it's not useful anymore, but we've got a whole file on the dude that's got 2 things in it instead of 1. Things are about to resume. Make your way to court at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding up at all. Certainly not. Thanks, Sholmes. Nothing tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in fled tears. First, so the best of luck to you. Welcome, student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes, Mr. Natsume. It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Solid agreement, Mr. William Shamspeare. It's going to be the final battle. Oh boy, we got to fight the Olive Green and the Shakespeare fraud. We're going to save them until I expose the truth. It's all coming to head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You can. You have to. For Kazuma. But what part of this case makes Susato need to go home? It doesn't make sense. Name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. And the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago was the true perpetrator of this incident. Reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. Rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zieks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand? Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring the witness in. Shamspeare, you need to get a new facial... new resting face. That one does not look good on you. William Shamspeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only. I be a tragic victim, to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words. I'm Olive Green, a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure, just a weak spirit in which he has no talent, I suppose. Also currently unemployed, in other words. Yep. Mr. Shamspeare. My lord, I am thy humble servant. Afraid that you are no longer really the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for naught else, my lord. And Miss Green. Yes? You are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume? Yes, the officer did explain. He said I'd poisoned this ridiculous buffoon. And? You accept the charge? I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man. Come, lady. Die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly, pea-pigmented personage. Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair. Oh, very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyways. Happens I passed that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. Like this man was poisoned, I was still in the hospital fighting for my life. Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garadeb household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days. Struck in the middle of my back by a knife, thoroughly no fault of my own. Now I'm under suspicion. What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing. energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel. At this point in time, all that appears connected with Mr. Shamspeare's lodging is the Briar Road incident. That's why. I'd like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened. Oh no! The incident 6 days ago. You mean you want me to relive that awful accident? Fortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we'll be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare. But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned. Let us proceed, then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road on the evening of the 17th of February. Oh boy. We go way back for this one. It was 6 days ago, about 5 p.m. I was walking along the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Incidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men, in this case, have their lodgings. I was at the tavern on the eve which thou speak. I had bespoke my supper. The first time I'd been in the area. That's a lie! I'd been straight to the hospital, so I knew nothing about all of this business. Green, I read your letter last time. Yes, a second incident inside a week is what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspeare. It was the following morning, my dear lady. I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine. Sozuki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. I suspect that there's nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. A certain Duncan Ross, son of Bob. If his father's name's actually Robert, I'm gonna be completely flabbergasted. 6 days ago, we know that, that's fine.
Hold it!
What's the name of the tavern? Tavern, you say? Which one? The Slug and Salad. 'Tis a jewel in the East End. A little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining for the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room. Huh? It's true, the menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness. Expect the Grub's Grubber in the local vicinity more appropriate for your needs. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be? Perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. There's a reason why he had to go to that particular establishment. He thought on the day of all days he dined at a place he wouldn't normally. It does stand out. Shamspeare's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. We have some evidence that can explain those actions. Did we get the... No, this is only the torn part. We didn't get the whole letter. Wish we did. Sadly, I can't think of anything at the moment. Find a clue that can explain why Mr. Shamspeare went there. Must present it to the court. It is all on this matter, counsel. I would ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement.
Hold it!
Green, I'd appreciate it if you didn't so blatantly lie to me. Nothing worth mentioning. Remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. Ah, it's related to the card you were holding. Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hit something behind her back. Remember, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. does that matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Mr. Shamsphere. Let's talk about Duncan. How well do you know the poor chap? To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's words spring from within me, with ne'er thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? I think Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Well, yes, sir. 'Twas nothing at all. Duly know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you're both lodgers in the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Miss Green. Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong? The card that was mentioned before, containing the note. Do you have it upon your person? I do, yes. I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really. Before you dispose of it, this court will take it as evidence, please. Yeah! Woohoo! Of course, that's what links Mr. Shamsphere and Miss Green. Because he had the other half of the letter! Can we not? We can't. We're... Envelope was ripped open rather carelessly. Ah. The way the envelope is torn. We'll sure have seen the exact shape somewhere else. You don't mean... Thinking of this piece of evidence? Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. Whee! Together perfectly. Torn up in the envelope belongs to this card. Can we read the letter again? No, we can't. Okay. Well, we've linked them. It's Duncan Ross! Continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Time to press Shamsphere on his one statement. Thank goodness Van Zeeks knows so much about places to eat. I'm going to try to present the evidence here. Might have it. Mr. Shamsphere. Yes, sire. The day in question. It's not the case you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize. For a very particular reason. I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakest! Very well, I present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day, namely, a letter.
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. As a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamsphere, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Ah! Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamsphere? Well... Excuse me, can I say something? Yes, Miss Green. That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it? Well, you'd think so, yes. It's hard to believe it's merely... My lord, may I? May you what, Miss Green? I'd like to make something very clear about that card. Very well then, you may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note. The note was delivered to me at my address. It has nothing to do with the odd man next to me. Unfortunately for you, it does!
Objection!
Nice try to lie, Miss Green. Day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. Upon carrying out the instructions on the note, you found yourself in a hospital. Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that's happened to me. Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is. What do you mean? Miss Green, have a look at this, please. The torn off end of an envelope. Oh, is it? And as it so happens, it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received. Where did you find that? In Mr. Shamspeare's room. In my room? Mr. Shamspeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well... Your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in this note down to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green. What did I do? This torn off end of the envelope proves the note was originally in Mr. Shamspeare's room. How is it came to be in your possession? I don't have the first idea. Just a fledgling artist, after all. There's only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspeare's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry, thou hast what? You broke, thou were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green. Yes? Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you've endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind. Yes, I know. Very well then, witness. You will give a formal testimony again now on the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. I do remember now. It was a week ago, peradventure. A note was delivered unto me. They writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? Point out the villain here. As for that torn off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it. Now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspeare? Faith, 'tis so, my lord. I swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet 'tis clear to me now that since I had returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was a lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? Just a fledgling artist, as I said. Fledgling artists don't lie. That was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is. That's true, Miss Green. How do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. Let's see why I should explain. Sorry? Fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer. The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witness. Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspeare's room. There can be no question of that. That's how she acquired the note. Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one. No, it is not. Remember now, it was a week ago, peradventure, the note, we already read all this. Terry, long hour at the Slug and Salad, nobody came. Can you point out where the Slug and Salad is, please? You'd after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared? Well, yes, sire. 'Tis as thou sayest. Really? Pause for a moment before you answer. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. Really? I need to tell the court that somebody did appear after all? I was not alone that night at this Leggin Solid, my lord. It is returning to me now. They treat my lips to almost clear water, mine innards to premium crust of bread. Around me danced a great many companions. Flies! Because he's involved in Duncan Ross's death. For some reason it ended up in your possession. Can't think of any way that would have happened, except for you breaking into his lodge.
Objection!
For what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless. Miss Green could only have come into possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamspeare's room. Duncan, what would you do? Is that... Did you steal Duncan's art bag after he died? Yet there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing. There's some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though. Like poison! We got Green on the ropes!
Hold it!
So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it? Yeah, fledgling artists. Introverted characters. Introverted? Fee! This fledgling doth readily cast aspirations about my nature. But I'm an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song, the wind doth frolic in my wing. Oh pity, wherefore dost thou accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman? Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure. Tragedy, thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist, to learn instructions hereafter by death. Oh, the days, oh, the years, alas, to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain. Well, Miss Green did in fact break into Shamspeare's room, isn't it? That's where she found this letter. Two more or less foregone conclusions, leading to one terrifying conclusion. Great to say. The outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Oh, when in doubt.
Objection!
Say objection and chuck poison at the witness. Yesterday at the Hopsital, we saw you with this bottle. Though its contents spilled during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified. Strychnine. What? Strychnine? Very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Huh? Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison! Can this be? You broke into my room to... May seem incredible to the court. From the remaining clues, there's only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie me! Olive? Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of a gas pipe with intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago. If the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. That's a good point. Perhaps not, my lord. Beg your pardon? Van Zeeks? There's a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of an ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoings at that time. Lord Van Zeeks! Of course, the following morning there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address. Activity? Ah, yes! And his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder. That's right. Events as already proposed. Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for very sinister reason himself, to cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. Once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. Circumstances Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison lay on the pipe lay dormant. Then 3 days ago, the situation changed again. Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. A trial in which case the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. Resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. That very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out. Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe was put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Mary! That new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock. The recipient should tell nobody else. Those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that you wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter? It's written by Miss Green, yes. In order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. After she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Why is she... Wow, she's even shorter than I thought she was. What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. Share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life? That is Duncan Ross!
Take that!
Duncan Ross! That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Garrett's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It's all over the papers a month ago. The man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... Ah, of course, yes, I remember now. A man they claim was strangled with a convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ugh! Ha 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 ha. Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. It's an interesting story they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. Once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean you. Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy, the murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry! Miss Green, is it not the case? In order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe. This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? One of them's attempted. Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Hailing so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusations against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. You'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green! I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel. Broke into the man's room. You didn't do it to smear poison. What was your reason? I thought I'd have a look around, that's all. Sorry? Right, I suspected him. Thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh, villainess! Oh, villainy! Oh, tyranny! Oh, rotundity of woman! In any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock! The whole place is falling apart. Locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of women! We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion. But for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted the note I'd sent him lying on the floor. Went to pick it up. I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose. Underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There was something in it. Yes. This rather nice key. Ah! What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? No, ugh. What's all this about? He inherited that key. It's obviously important to you since you've gone to such lengths to hide it. So I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Get right this minute. Give it to me. Calm yourself, witness. Mr. Shamspeare has tried, and in one case succeeded to take the lives of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that had happened. True that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspeare at first. Considering everything we know now, I think there's actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspeare's alleged crimes? Thank you, Gregson! That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file. How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. Room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. inmates. I see. It so happens the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. Some 1,000 pounds worth of loot he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in this file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That is how the papers summed it up. It seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. Not hard to imagine Selden trusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in. You mean this key is... Mr. Shamster, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? It is a false charge, I tell you, a false charge. The name of the inmate who was with Selden witness his death isn't noted in this file. A simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. Ugh! But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot! So, it all comes out. Yes, having established that, all of Mr. Shamsphere's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garadab's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired armyman was unable to offer him the accommodations of his choice, because Selden's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamsphere subsequently dived into his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. When he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone hadn't beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less! Decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamsphere? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. Get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot behind the dead convict. Left behind by the dead convict. Arg! Do a little play for us, Shamsphere. Call yourself a fool, because you are. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. This is Selden. It's in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, take this key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamsphere. Come on, have a breakdown. It's mine. What did you say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Yes! Mr. Shamsphere? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I don't admit to it. There's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it. I can almost taste it now. You're gonna think I'd just give up? No question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. I'm so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. Right, that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done. There's a way. There is, you say. Which piece of evidence is it? Is it the map? Is it the books? Is it the soap? The medical report? The gas meter? We've used all of our evidence. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. No. He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot, which means all we need to do is find it first! A very fine plan, were it not for the fact the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. If only he left skin prints! My lord! Yes, counsel? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe you're already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Shamspear dance! It's our last chance. Has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we used the same technique once already. It definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's haul? This picture of handprints!
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspear's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspear. Ha ha, Sholmes! Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. Ah! 'Tis Erlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaver, it's been too long. I see your complexion has worsened since we last met. Sholmes, how do you know him? Mr. Sholmes, how does he know Lord Manzeeks then? Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded a great detective of the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already. Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. The method by which we are able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Ah! Need only a small sample of something the individual had previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Key! Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. The convict was arrested. He was living in Soseki's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Present person. We'll need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. Something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution? Olive Green! Miss Green! Ah, me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? Huh? The key belonged to Selden. There'll be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on the surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room he used to rent. Ugh! Mr. Shamspear is one great to another, I assure you. The late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings. I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. Ugh! So, Mr. Shamspear, truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth! Ugh! Ugh! In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspear. No! No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt! Whoa! Yeah! Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name! I like the confetti. He had little confetti bombs blasting into the ground. Relatively short breakdown by Ace Attorney standards, but you know, pretty good for these games. I never intended to kill the man, I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. Did you have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with. He had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume, what unfortunate timing. Then 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, thought I'd finally have a chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. Remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you in a deadly trap. William Shakespeare. How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. Holy crap, olive green! Is Sholmes gonna go get the treasure? Is that what's happening? No, she still got the key. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply to my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. It's no joke. I think it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There's spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember? That was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. Duncan! If only I'd known it was going to happen. I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school. Something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. Walked up the road to Grubb's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him. Sat myself down next to him. Had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publisher. This place is cursed, I tell you, cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like I'm the problem, that's what they're thinking! But how could that be? Duncan was gone and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? That's some good detective work by Green. Then I remembered. Rumor I heard about how the gas companies go around investigating gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean... Yes, everybody's heard stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind. It just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. A black market? I'd never been. I just heard people talking about them. You really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me ever more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. Mr. Shamspeare is innocent. Nothing would come of what you've done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspeare. Then I wrote him this little note. Information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter, or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I know that would worry him enough so he'd be sure to go. Waited to see if it had worked. And of course, Mr. Shamspeare followed the instructions to the letter. Worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. Smeared a good amount of the poison I bought around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying the devil's work wouldn't be done. That was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done. That the culprit would get his just desserts. Man, why do they have to put a murderer who was like, you kind of feel bad for, but at the same time, they did an evil thing, and you have to condemn them for it. And they seem like they would have been a good person, and they are a good person, but bad circumstances and sadness. 3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It's been a long road, my Japanese friend. Oh, yes! And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green. Yes, my lord. You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare. Yes, I know. And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you'll be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume, here present. Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes! Yesterday at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle. I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. Yeah, or not to be, I suppose. It's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green. Oh? I'd like to believe it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. Because of you, I choose life, not death. Now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green! Soseki Natsume. Yes, my lord! The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant... Woohoo! Fireworks! Let's go! Woohoo! He's free! Maybe next case we'll get to figure out why we're stripped of lawyer permissions. But what in this case made freaking Susato's dad call for her to come back home? Is it the gas? Is it the treasure? Is it the art? Oh, yes, yes, at last! Divine justice duly done! Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache! This has nothing to do with my mustache! Some say luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Schultz. Yes, Saseki, once again, you saved me from doom! Happy to help. Congratulations on your acquittal, your second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived a life through friendly old books. At such a difficult time, why did they give us the list of the books as evidence? We never used it, except for to prove that his books were the ones on the cabinet during the deduction. Ah, but a week ago now, I dragged you out of that dark, dingy room of yours, did I not? Yes, you did. I've seen more life in this week than in all my years to date. For the first time, I feel like I've begun to see the true face of the English that's been hiding behind a wall of fog. My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of English, as you put it. Wherever so one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. Worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place, to make me see. Whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're just doing our best to live. Well said. I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What? You know, didn't you tell us this last time? Just when we become friends here in England, what a terrible shame. I know, that does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. Decided I'd like to take everything I learned here in Britain and write something of my own. A novel of sorts, I suppose. Oh my, you'll be creating your own literature? How wonderful. Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature. Why not? And that's precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache. I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is I'd like to try my hand at writing. No delusions of grandeur. I, for one, would love to read your work. Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. If once again emerge victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah! That's very true. There's no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor. Desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. My goodness, yes! Faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm sure. But that's not why I'm living! I mean it! That was the case we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago. Soseki did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to government. It's on reading that report that Professor Miko Tabo was prompted to visit the scholar. Barely any time later, Susato was given news she must return to Japan as well. Back of a telegram stating falsely her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial, on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot! Hell yeah! Loot! Let's go! Where'd he hide the loot? Under the books? Well done, Mr. Schultz. How simply marvelous you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? I believe I've told you, my dear fellow, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? Reggie's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily? And perhaps humorously. Might be closer to the truth. So, transpires, the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. What's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let us examine the late burglar's hall. What the? What is that? A belt? A choker? Blood? There's blood on the neckband! The Hound! Blood! You don't think there could be blood, do you? There's quite a lot of it. Second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Of course, there's this emblem here. Large letter B. Baskervilles? Though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it be? Have been? That's enough of that, I think. What? Sholmes? Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, ought you? It could be valuable evidence, after all. Must be kept safely under lock and key. Ah, yes. Grab your hands off that, you lot, and hand it over, now! Huh? Never seen a collar that large before. All those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. That's not what stood out the most to me. At least not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood? That was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. You look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis for this month's story in the magazine. God, the Hound of Baskervilles! Mystery of the Knife in the Mist and the Mustached Man and the Convict's Curse. We get a two-part story. You can't do that. Sholmes is going to prevent you from publicizing it. A word, please, Iris. What is it, Hurley? I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question. What? Why not? It's a great case. I shall have to insist you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear? Sholmes? Yes. What is the beef?
So it was that the second of Soseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity.
You don't say!
Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again.
Hell yeah!
With an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Russian spy! He's gonna be there! The Crystal Tower! Oh boy, things are gonna pick up! Let's go, baby! I am so pumped for next time! Alright, that's gonna be all for today. We solved the case. Miss Green is a murderer, and there's a collar with the letter B on it that's also got a bunch of blood on it that apparently is gonna make sense at the Crystal Tower. And the Russian spy guy will probably be there. Thanks for coming out and watching. I hope Magnus McGill doesn't become part of this again. Goodbye.